All right, buckle up, history buffs, because today we're diving headfirst into a story that sounds like something straight out of the movies.
We're talking government decrees, economic turmoil, and people hoarding gold like it's the apocalypse.
It's FDR and the Great Gold Grab, and let me tell you, the truth is way wilder than any Hollywood fiction.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've got stacks of research eyewitness accounts, economic analyses, the whole shebang, and
Yeah.
we're going to break it all down for you.
Buckle up, folks, because this deep dive is about to get real.
Now, to really get this party started, we got to rewind a bit. Back in the day, money wasn't just numbers on a screen. It was directly tied to good old-fashioned gold.
Think of it like the Wild West of finance, chaotic and unpredictable. The gold standard was supposed to be the sheriff, bringing some order to the global economy. Each country tied its currency to a specific amount of gold. It was all about stability, you see. You could waltz into a bank anywhere in the world and swap your paper money for a chunk of gold at a fixed rate. Simple, right?
Sounds good in theory, so what went wrong?
Well, that's where the Great Depression comes in.
The infamous crash of '29. Not exactly a picnic, from what I've heard.
It was a full-blown economic meltdown. Businesses went belly up, banks were dropping like flies, and unemployment through the roof. People lost everything, their savings, their livelihoods. Talk about a gut punch.
I can only imagine the panic. So where does the gold come in?
In times of crisis, people crave stability. And back then, gold was about as stable as it got. It was tangible, valuable, and in a world where paper money was quickly becoming worthless, gold was a beacon of hope. People were literally stashing it under mattresses, burying it in their backyards, anything to keep it safe.
Wow, that's some serious trust issues with the banks.
You better believe it. It was like trusting a bar of gold more than your own bank, and in those days, that's saying something.
So enter stage left Franklin Delano Roosevelt with his New Deal and promises of hope and recovery. The man was practically a rock star, right?
He had a way with words, that's for sure. FDR's election in '32 wasn't just about policy, it was about restoring faith in a system on the brink.
But, and here's where it gets really juicy, FDR's bag of tricks wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. He made some, shall we say, bold moves.
Moves that are still debated today.
That brings us to Executive Order 6102, the moment FDR decided to make a play for the nation's gold.
Oh yeah, this is where things get really interesting. Picture this. It's 1933, the economy's in the dumpster, and out of the blue, FDR drops this bombshell. He wants all the gold.
Hold up, all of it, like everyone's gold. What was he thinking?
Officially, it was about getting the economy back on track. They called it hoarding and claimed it was strangling the financial system.
Hoarding sounds a tad dramatic, don't you think?
A tad, maybe. But the government's logic was this: get people banking again, boost confidence in the dollar, stop the whole system from going belly up.
So basically a forced trust exercise with Uncle Sam.
Pretty much. They figured controlling the gold meant they could control the money supply, pump the brakes on deflation, maybe even get things moving again.
Ambitious, to say the least. But let's be real, grabbing people's gold, even during a crisis, that's a bold move.
Bold is putting it mildly. Citizens had until May 1st, 1933 to surrender their gold coins, bars, even those fancy certificates, straight to the Federal Reserve.
Sounds kind of like a line in the sand. What happened if you decided, nah, I think I'll hold on to my gold?
Let's just say the government meant business. We're talking hefty fines, up to $10,000. And get this, jail time was on the table too.
Wow, they weren't messing around. Did they actually, go door to door checking under mattresses and stuff?
Not quite a nationwide treasure hunt, but get this, they encouraged people to rat out their neighbors for hoarding gold.
Oh man, talk about a recipe for some serious neighborhood drama.
Ah,
But this wasn't just about people's personal stashes, right? We're talking about a seismic shift in how money worked.
you hit the nail on the head. See, the gold seizure, that was just Act 1. Remember how they wanted to control the money supply? Well, once they had the gold, they made their move, and boy, was it a doozy. They devalued the dollar.
Devalued, as in your dollar's worth less overnight. How does that even work?
They basically changed how much the dollar was worth compared to gold. Overnight, the official price of gold shot up from about $20 an ounce to a whopping $35. That's a 69% jump.
Whoa, hold on. So people are forced to sell their golds at one price and then bam, the government says, just kidding, it's worth way more now, but too bad.
You got it. Those who played by the rules handed over their gold. They got the short end of the stick. Big time. Those who hid their gold, despite the risks, let's just say they came out on top.
I bet that went over like a lead balloon. People must have been furious.
Furious doesn't even cover it. Newspapers were going wild. Folks were seeing red. It felt like a massive betrayal. And it wasn't just about the money, it was the principle. The government had pulled a fast one, changed the rules out of nowhere.
So what happened next? Did people just take it lying down?
Not a chance. Lawsuits started flying, questioning if the whole thing was even legal, constitutional and all that. The big one, the showdown, that was a bunch of cases lumped together, the gold clause cases.
Okay, legal jargon aside, what were those all about?
Contracts, basically. Back then, big loans, investments, they often had these gold clauses. It was a way to guarantee repayment in a fixed amount of gold. Protection from a shaky dollar, you see.
Like insurance for lenders.
Yeah.
Right? Smart move.
Exactly. But then FDR goes and devalues the dollar, throws all those gold clauses into chaos. Imagine loaning someone $1 million backed by gold, then poof, the government shrinks your repayment. Talk about an economic earthquake.
So did the court side with the people who got the short end of the stick?
No, that's the $1 million question, and a story for another time. It was a real cliffhanger. People were fired up, contracts were in shambles, and the government, they'd just pulled off one of the biggest power plays in economic history.
So what happened? Did the court step in and say, hold on a minute, Uncle Sam, you can't just swipe everyone's gold?
Well, in a nail-biter of a decision, 5-4, the Supreme Court actually sided with the government.
Wow, really? That close? What was their reasoning? Seems like a pretty big deal to just overturn.
The court's take was basically this. In a crisis, and let's not forget, this was the Great Depression we're talking about, the government has got to be able to act fast, even if it means bending the rules a little.
So in the name of saving the system. But man, that's a slippery slope, isn't it?
No doubt about it. The gold clause cases were about way more than just money. It was about power, the government's power, and whether it could just, change the rules of the game whenever it felt like it.
So did FDR get away with it then? I mean, it worked out in the end, right?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? The economy did recover eventually, but was it the gold seizure? Or just one piece in a much bigger puzzle? Historians and economists are still arguing about that one.
It's fascinating, though, right, how this one event ties into so much power, money, the choices people make when the stakes are sky high.
Absolutely. Makes you think what would happen today if a government tried something like this. Would people just hand over their assets? It really makes you wonder.
No doubt. Well, folks, there you have it. From the gold standard to the Great Depression to FDR's gamble and the court battles that followed. What a ride.
It really goes to show history isn't just dates in a textbook. It's full of these crazy stories, twists and turns that teach us about ourselves,
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. If you were whisked back to 1933, what would you do? Hide your gold. Hand it over. It's a question with no easy answers, but hey, that's what makes history so interesting, right? This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, stay curious, my friends.